warm Emirati welcome to all arriving guest workers. Thank you for choosing the United Arab Emirates as your home away from home. We welcome you to our country and hope you will enjoy the time you spend living and working here. We invite you to learn our new labor regulations. Important things for you to know. Your employer must pay for your recruitment costs and travel to the UAE. Your employer must pay for your residency permit. Keep the receipts for anything you are asked to pay for. Keep a copy of your signed job offer. Your contract must match your job offer. Keep a copy of your signed contract in a safe place. You're entitled to keep your personal identification documents with you at all times. No work upon arrival. You are not receiving your wages on time and in full. Report to the Labor Office. If you need help, you always have a friend in the Ministry of Human Resources and Emiratization. We are here to support you. Your contract and personal identification. Your employer must present you with your employment contract for signature. Your employer will need your personal identification documents in order to and for the time required to obtain your residency permit. Once your residency permit is issued, your employer must return your personal identification documents to you. 8 hours is the normal working hours per day. 9 hours is the normal working hours per day for commercial businesses, catering businesses, guarding works, and hotel businesses. 6 hours is the normal working hours per day in Ramadan. There is 1 hour rest in between those working hours. Overtime. Maximum overtime hours a day is 2 hours and it can be extended to prevent a major loss. Overtime is calculated as per the following method. In normal days, overtime before 9 p.m., 25% of the total salary, 2 hours overtime maximum. In normal days, overtimes after 9 p.m. till 4 a.m., 50% of the total salary, 2 hours overtime maximum. On Fridays, 50% of the basic salary calculated as per working hours. On holidays, 50% of the total salary in addition to compensating another working day off. In case of not compensating another day off, 150% of the basic salary. It is not permissible to assign works to an employee for more than 2 consecutive Fridays. In case of an employee on leave, he or she is compensated with his total salary in addition to his leave salary. Holidays. The holidays in the UAE are as follows. Pilgrimage leave, 30 days once without pay. Weekly holiday, Fridays. Annual leave, 30 days a year with total salary. Sick leave, 90 days as follows. The first 15 days, full paid salary. The next 30 days, half paid salary. More than above, no salary. Maternity leave, 45 days, full paid salary. New Year's Eve, 1 day, full paid salary. Hijri New Year Eve, 1 day, full paid salary. Eid al-Fitr, 2 days, full paid salary. Eid al-Adha and Arafat Day, 3 days, full paid salary. UAE National Day, 1 day, full paid salary. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, birthday, 1 day, full paid salary. Isra and Miraj Day, 1 day, full paid salary. Starting work. How quickly should I start work and what should I do if there is a delay? Your employer must enable you to perform your employment tasks upon your arrival. If you are not presented with a work contract within 1 week of arrival, or if you are not enabled to start work immediately following, report to the nearest labor office. Do not accept other employment without first reporting to a labor office to avoid being in violation of the law. If your employer fails to present you with a contract or provide you with work, the labor office will assist you in finding alternative employment. Contract terminations and disputes. What if I want to continue working for my employer, but my employer does not meet his or her obligations under the employment contract? If either party does not meet his or her respective obligations, the other party can initiate termination of the employment contract. Should your employer not deliver on his or her contractual commitments, report to the nearest labor office for assistance. Labor officials will help you collect any dues owed to you by your employer and assist you in finding alternative employment if you so desire. What do I do if I want to terminate my contract with my employer? It is important that you follow the required legal steps for terminating your contract. That means you may not simply leave your employer and seek to work for another one, even if your employer is in breach of the contract. Instead, you should report to a labor office for assistance. The labor office can help you recover any dues that are owed to you and arrange placement in alternative employment if you are eligible to obtain a new work permit. Your labor office will both assist you and protect you. Moving to a new employer. If my contract is terminated, am I allowed to work for a new employer? You are eligible to obtain a new work permit if and when you have completed the term of your limited term contract and choose not to renew it. You comply with the notice and compensation requirements when terminating a renewed limited term contract. You give the appropriate notice to your current employer in case your contract is unlimited, as per its termination clause. Your employer fails to meet his or her obligations under the employment contract, and it is confirmed by the Ministry of Human Resources and Amortization, regardless of the time spent with your employer. You and your employer mutually consent to terminating your employment contract provided you have completed 6 months with your employer. This latter 6-month restriction is waived if you are classified as holding skill levels 1, 2, or 3 as per the Ministry of Human Resources and Amortization classifications. If you do not know your skill level, ask your employer or a labor official at your nearest labor office. You are not eligible to obtain a new work permit if and when you initiate termination of your contract prior to having completed the term of your original limited term contract. You fail to comply with the notice requirement of your unlimited contract. You do not comply with the notice and/or compensation requirements when you initiate termination of a renewed limited term contract. You demonstrably fail to perform your duties or meet your obligations to your current employer, causing your employment to be terminated. Termination without notice. An employer may terminate an employee without serving a notice in the following occasions: if the worker has impersonated another person or nationality, or submitted fake certificates or fake documents. If the worker is hired and in his probation period and the worker has been terminated during or at the end of that period. If a worker committed a mistake resulted in huge loss for the employer with the condition of informing the Ministry of Labor within 48 hours from knowing the incident. If the worker has violated safety instruction of his workplace with the condition of those safety instructions to be written and hanged in a visible place, and the worker being informed with those instructions verbally, if he or she is uneducated. If the worker did not fulfill his basic duties as per the labor contract, and he continued violating them despite conducting written investigation with him for that purpose and warning him by termination in case of repetition. If an employee is sentenced finally from the concerned court in crime related to honor, breach of trust, or public indecency. If a worker has exposed an employer's secret. If a worker is found intoxicated with alcohol or any drug. If a worker assaults the employer, line manager, or a co-worker during working hours. If the worker was absent without justification for more than 20 different days in a year or 7 consecutive days. Platforms must be surrounded with barriers to prevent from falling. The ladder must be extended by a meter or more from top of an edge. Workers on high altitude must be tied to a safety vest to prevent from falling. It is prohibited to stand on a scaffold while moving it. Scaffold wheels must be locked before using it. Scaffold must be kept away from electrical cables by an adequate distance. Remove any flammable materials before starting welding works. It is prohibited to smoke near flammable materials. Holes must be sealed or surrounded by barriers. Electrical cables should be connected in a safe way to prevent electrical short circuit. Any debris must be removed before commencing work. A ladder should be far from a wall by a quarter of its length. Tie loads in a secure way. Tie loads in a way to prevent it from falling. Pack loads in a secure way. Heat stress awareness. Workers should not be allowed to work under the sun in the afternoon between 12:30 p.m. to 3 p.m. from the 15th of June to the 15th of September. Best practices: reduce continuous exposure to heat, provide more rest breaks, provide cool rest areas, use scheduling and staff rotation methods. Stop work in peak hot hours. Training laborers and supervisory staff and acclimatization. Provide more water stations and allow unrestricted access to cool drinking water. Plan and implement rehydration program for replenishing salts lost through sweating. Provide heat cards and first aid on site. Heat can be hazardous. Symptoms of heat stress. All symptoms may not present at once. Even one or few symptoms indicate heat stress. Excessive sweating, headache, nausea, giddiness, muscle cramps, weakness, fatigue and drowsiness, scanty dark urine, lack of concentration and irritability, hypotension, fainting, heat stroke and death in extreme cases. First aid for heat exhaustion. Take to cool shaded area. Cool body by fanning or wet clothes. Give cool drink of rehydration salts. For more details, call 800-665. Precautions: avoid direct exposure to sun or heat as much as possible. Use umbrella or cap. Apply sunscreen for sensitive skin if heat exposure is prolonged. Drink water more frequently. Add extra salt to your food and drink wherever possible. Avoid excessive use of caffeinated beverages. Go for rehydration drinks instead. Knowing your rights as well as your obligations will help ensure that your stay in the Emirates is a successful one. The summary contained herein provides you with an overview of your basic rights and obligations under your UAE employment contract. We stand ready to assist you whenever you need support, so do not hesitate to reach out to us.